Hello everyone. So let's start today's class and we are still discussing the topic of corporate governance. As I told you before, our topic of corporate governance is actually divided into two chapters, right? The first chapter that we have already completed related to all the concepts of corporate governance, its history, its evolution and everything. And now we are starting with chapter 2, which is related to social, environmental and economic responsibilities of business. We have already discussed the facts and the rationale behind actually adopting corporate governance measures by the business houses. Why at all businesses need to be socially responsible is something that we have already discussed in our previous chapter, so I don't think I need to repeat this again. So a business, if will think only about profit, will not be able to reach the success it will actually reach when it is socially as well as environmentally responsible also. The business has to be socially responsible also, right? So this is something that we know, and why it has to be socially responsible also is also something that we already know. In this particular chapter, then what are we going to study? This particular chapter is basically divided into three parts. The first part is the guidelines, that is, you can say, national guidelines. I'm not mentioning the guidelines name because it has been changed. In the second part, we will be discussing about CSR, that is corporate social responsibility. Ma'am, this we have already discussed in the first chapter. Yes, we have discussed certain things about CSR, that is applicability, and a few points, but here we will discuss about all the steps involved in CSR. So it is going to be in some detailed manner, and in the third part we are going to discuss about e-governance practices. Okay, so e-governance, that is all electronic governance, how it is happening, government is involved, government to government, government to business and everything. Okay, which also involves XBRL, that is right. So now these three parts, one by one we are going to pick all the parts and we are going to discuss them. The first part, as I told you, is about the guidelines. Now, earlier there were national voluntary guidelines on social, environmental, and economic responsibilities of business, popularly known as NVG. NVG were originally formulated in 2009, then it was revised in 2011. There were another set of NVGs, but currently what guidelines we are going to study is this NGRBC, which stands for National Guidelines on Responsible Business Conduct. National Guidelines on Responsible Business Conduct. So earlier they were actually defining the responsibilities, but now these guidelines are only telling us that businesses need to be responsible. See, if we talk culturally, what our culture has been, we have always been engaged in philanthropic activities, right? We have always been thinking of giving back. That is what our philosophy has always been. If I am earning, say, an amount of 50,000, I will think and I will donate a sum of 500 to the ones who need it, right? So that is in our thinking, that is in our culture, and taking this forward are these set of guidelines also. These set of guidelines were introduced by Modi ji with the motto, it is Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, right? Sabka Saath means together we all will grow, right? Okay, so with each other we all are going to grow. So it is ultimately going to lead to equitable development. It is not just that I am growing with my business, it should be like I will definitely grow with my business, but with my business, all the ones who are being impacted by that business will also grow. And if you think about the society also, if you think about everyone's growing, then your economic growth, mark my words, then your economic growth will also be sustainable. See, we have something called as an overall growth and we have something called as only economic growth. So even when I'm talking about economic growth of my business, which purely relates to financials and profitability, that will also not be sustainable if we do not take up the responsibility towards society. So what is going to happen is a profit will shoot up like this, but it will come down. But instead, what we want is maybe the profit doesn't go up like this, but that profit should be constantly growing. That is what we want our businesses to be, right? So we are not going to think about the short-term benefits. We're not going to think about these short-term benefits. We are going to think about the long run, right? And many businesses don't realize it soon. See, if I take an example, supposedly this is your course material. Okay, this is what your module is. This is what your module is. And this is something that is given in economic news. Okay, which is very important. But if I ask you to read this also, you will say, now what is it? This is not going to be of any use. If I read this module, it will give me marks, right? So it will help me improve my result. That is what is important for you. That is what is important for you. But you fail to realize that in the long run, if I have this knowledge, it will give me a better job. If I have this extra edge over others, it is going to help me gain success in life, not just in exams. But you will not realize it so soon, and the ones who actually realize it soon, they are the ones who grow. Likewise, you have businesses. These are the financials that people or business houses care about, and these are some social services. That is your responsibility towards the environment, towards society and everyone. People think this is of no use. Business houses think this is of no use. If I'm going to work on my productivity and everything, my profit is going to rise, and that is what is important. But they fail to realize that in long run, this is what is going to help them sustain in the market. Other competitors who are only thinking about numbers and money, they will be thrown out of the market. So they will not be able to sustain anymore. Because ultimately, the ones who are thinking for the society, who are working for the society, government is going to encourage them, customers are going to encourage them, employees are going to encourage that workplace. Everyone who is associated is only going to encourage the businesses who are socially and who are environmentally responsible, right? So this is one thing that we have already established, and this is one thing that we already know. Now, when we come to these particular guidelines, earlier what we had is national voluntary guidelines, and now what we have is national guidelines. So the word voluntary has been removed. Now, when we read this, we think that okay, voluntary has been removed. That means earlier it was optional to adopt these guidelines. Now it is mandatory to adopt these guidelines. No, it is absolutely not like that. That earlier it was optional and now it is mandatory or anything like that. Although if I talk about these particular guidelines, first of all, let me tell you why these guidelines came into force. We had NVGs, and if I talk NVGs and this NGRBC, they do not have much difference. Earlier also there were 9 principles. Now also you have 9 principles. Earlier also 9 principles were based on certain parameters. Now also 9 principles are based on certain parameters. It is only some language, some elements have changed. Okay, so it has become more detailed, and you can say it has incorporated some change in concepts also. So that is the only differences. Otherwise, more or less, the principles are still the same. But why do you think this actually changed? MCA released a set of guidelines in 2011 called as NVG. But no, these guidelines actually provide, or they were actually meant to provide that guideline that how businesses behavior should be, how a business should conduct socially, what should be the behavior of a business socially, that is towards the society, towards the environment. If I have a factory set up here, how should I behave when I'm emitting out waste, that is I am polluting the environment? Is it my responsibility to protect the environment, that environment which has actually given me resources to work? This environment has given me human resources, this environment has given me supposedly I am, if I'm going for coffee plantation, it is the environment which has given me that opportunity, right, to process that coffee beans and prepare a powdered coffee or something like that. So it is the environment that is giving me resources to work, and in turn I'm actually polluting that environment. So am I not responsible towards the environment also? Is it only government who has to be responsible? Everyone is responsible. So I am a corporate citizen. If I am a company, I'm a corporate citizen, and my actions should not be such that it has an adverse impact on the environment. So I have to ensure that whatever policy I'm formulating, whatever procedure I'm adopting, it should be such that it is not having any adverse impact on the environment, on the society, and even on my profits. Because I have to think economically also, because I'm also responsible towards the shareholders from whom I've taken money. So I have to act in a responsible manner, right? That is what actually these principles are telling me. These principles are nothing but they actually were to provide certain guidance. Okay, but then the major turning point was the United Nations guiding principles. So then came the United Nations guiding principles, and all the members countries of United Nations were made to think and align their guidelines with the guidelines that has been issued by them. So then started this process of revision. Okay, so basically this revision started in the year 2015 only, but slowly and gradually government came up with national guidelines on responsible business conduct. So these are the guidelines that we have today. Okay, these are the guidelines that we have today. If you go on to see your material, maybe you'll not find these latest guidelines, but don't worry, we cannot read the old ones because these have been changed, and these are the guidelines which have been issued. Sooner or later that module is going to be revised, so don't worry about that. Okay, so UN guiding principles for business and human rights were one of the factors, or you can say driving force, in bringing in these principles. Now, who follows sorry, who follows this guideline? Who is to follow these guidelines? These guidelines are meant for all the business, whether your size is small, whether your size is big, whether you are belong to a certain sector, industry, or you can say government sector, this sector, that sector, public, private, structure, location, doesn't matter. These set of guidelines are meant to be used by all businesses, and especially if you're an MNC, right? So, but certainly it also has those 9 principles only, and we are going to analyze and read all these principles one by one. But certainly, if I'm talking about these principles, they are more important for the listed companies, and SEBI has also come up with certain reporting framework, and also some reporting framework for some 1,000 listed companies. Earlier it was 100, then 500,000, so and so. Fine. So far we have read nothing which is actually which has actually been concrete and which can be asked in your examination. So this is only something to give you background, although you can write it as history, or you can This is actually given as a road ahead in your material, but this is not road ahead because these guidelines have already been introduced. When this was published in your material, these guidelines were not introduced and only talks and committees were being formed to revise these guidelines. But now they have been issued, they have been revised. So this road ahead is not the term. It has actually become history. Okay. So you can keep it in mind as history, background, introduction, whatever you want to. Now we'll start with the principles part. The first principle, or rather, because these principles are important and they have to be learned, I am going to give you a memory technique for writing the same. Okay. I think I wrote it somewhere, right? Here I have got it. You may note it and let me tell you what it is. So in total, as I told you, we have 9 principles. Now to learn these principles, you have to learn all the principles. You must know what these principles are all about. They are basically guiding the business houses that how they should function to be socially, environmentally and economically responsible. Why they have to be this responsible, you already know, right? So for their sustainable growth, for their sustainable economic growth also, they have to be responsible towards the society, towards the environment as well. How they can achieve this is by following these principles. By following these 9 principles. Reliance is one of the you can say pioneer in following these principles. Okay, and we know where Reliance is. Now how are you going to summarize and learn these principles? That is what these principles are all about. So there is a short memory technique, and basically if you are unable to understand this, ETA stands for expected time of arrival, right? So expected time on ETA, or I'm writing it here only, right? I'm writing it with a different shade pen so you are able to distinguish the same. I will write it at ETA stakeholders did SAFE VC to discuss human rights, which was epic. Okay. ETA stakeholders SAFE VC to discuss human rights, which was epic. Okay. So either way you can remember this. Now what does this mean? At an expected time, stakeholders did SAFE VC. VC, what do you mean by VC? VC is like a kitty party. It is like a chit fund committee. Maybe commonly known as BC, VC. A lot of names are being given to this particular form of meetings wherein you contribute and you party and whatever you do, something sort of chit fund. Forget that. That is not important. What is important is a memory technique, right? So at ETA, that is at some expected time, all the stakeholders did a SAFE meeting, SAFE VC, to discuss human rights, which was epic. Okay, so this is a sentence that you can remember easily. Now what does this mean? First of all, when I talk about ETA stands for ethical, transparent and accountable. Okay, Then we talk about SAFE. SAFE stands for safe and sustainable. Stakeholders is stakeholders only. VC is value chain employees. Human rights is human rights only. E stands for environment. P stands for public policy. I stands for inclusive growth, and C stands for consumer value. If you are able to hear me, I would want you to repeat with me. What are the 9 principles, or what are these 9 principles based on? At ETA, shareholders did a SAFE VC to discuss human rights, which was EPIC. At ETA stands for ethical, transparent and accountability. At ETA, stakeholders is stakeholders only, did SAFE VC. SAFE stands for safe and sustainable. VC stands for value chain employees. To discuss human rights stands for human rights only, which was EPIC. E stands for environment, P stands for public policy, I stands for inclusive growth, and C stands for consumer value. Right? So you repeat it twice or thrice, you will be able to learn this. So these are basically all the 9 principles which are based on these 9 points only. The very first one, that businesses should be ethical, transparent, accountable. They should work or give products and services in a manner which is safe and sustainable. They should work for their employees. They should think about their employees. They should think about all the stakeholders. They should protect human rights. They should be responsible towards environment. The businesses who are engaged in policy formulation or influencing, they should also be responsible. Everyone should not just think about their own growth, but inclusive growth, that is equitable development, and they should give due regard and value to their consumers. Simple. That is how simple these 9 principles are. So if you follow these 9 principles, you will not just be profit making entity, but you will also be a socially responsible entity. Okay. So one by one, we are going to discuss all these principles. Every principle has this set of brief description, or you can say they outline what this principle states, and then you have their own set of core elements. Core elements are more important because they are actually pinpointing the things, and brief description is an overview, or you can say outline, anything like that. Okay, so in every principle you are going to see in this particular format only. Now we'll start with the first principle. That is ethical, transparent, accountable. Ethical, transparent and accountable. You have ethics, you have transparency, and you also have accountability. Remember the concept of corporate governance, which we began with the 3 parameters of FAT, that is fairness, accountability and transparency, right? And we also discussed that every business should be engaged in ethical practices. So these were the 4 things that we started corporate governance with. Now again, in these principles, we have those same points written here, that the business should govern itself in a manner which is ethical. It should ensure transparency. Ensuring transparency only means disclosure. How can you act in a transparent manner? Anything to be transparent has to be disclosed. If anything is hidden, that means it is not transparent, right? So everything has to be disclosed. Disclosure actually leads to transparency, and accountability, you definitely have to be accountable, right? So you basically have to disclose disclosures, action, higher principle, have of rating risk, be accountable, effective. Now listen to me. If you want, you can note this. But you'll not understand anything right now because I haven't explained you yet. Now listen to me. Businesses should conduct and govern themselves, that is, they should behave and they should manage themselves with integrity and in a manner that is ethical, transparent, and accountable. See, when I'm talking about integrity, when I'm talking about honesty, if it is not just about me, but it is about everyone else. It actually creates a very negative impact for everyone else. If I have a stationery business and there is a company, or there is a company called as Mother Dairy, and they want to invite tender for the supply of stationery, and I am one of the applicant for supplying for filling that tender, but I also have a back end contact with the director of Mother Dairy, and I somehow managed to convince that director to give that contract for supply of stationery to me only, irrespective of what tender is being filled by other applicants. Now, what am I doing? I will get that tender, I will make profits. It is beneficial for me, but I actually impacted this environment negatively. How? Because I somehow encouraged corruption, firstly. I somehow was indulged in not so integrity practices. I somehow stopped the people from fair competition, from giving them a fair opportunity. Had everyone filled the tender and everyone had equal chances of getting the tender, there would be a fair competition and ultimately competitive prices, ultimately growth of economy and everything, right? So anyways, if you do not act in an honest manner, if you don't run your business in an honest manner, even if you're short term benefited by it, in the long term you won't, right? Because it is negatively impacting everyone else in the society. Okay, now you have to act in a manner which is ethical, transparent, and accountable, right? For this, basically you just don't have to think about your operations but also about this particular policy. Now what are you saying? We are unable to understand anything, right? You have to focus on whatever I'm saying, and you have to get everything, every word that I'm speaking straight through your mind. Okay, because this is a topic which does not have a lot of concepts, visible concepts I would say, but it has a lot of hidden concepts, right? So why it is happening, there is something in general we know, like maybe we very well know that when we switch on our cell phone this is going to happen, but why it happens we do not know. Many a times it happens that we know how to draw accounts, but why do we write this income here, expenditure here, or anything like that, you don't know, right? So, and knowing that also seems boring, right? So but this is something that you must relate and must read with the utmost concentration. Okay, ethical conduct is the cornerstone of responsible business. So any business who's responsible will indulge in the business in ethical practices or ethical behavior only. That is the first thing. Secondly, what is written is whatever business actions you are taking, they must be disclosed. They must be disclosed. What actions? For actions required by the principles. Supposedly, this principle says you must do this, and to do this, you have to do this. So, you must disclose that this is something that has been done in respect of, or in compliance, or in conformity with these principles. So, you must disclose all your actions which are required by principles, and not just these actions required by principles, but also your operations. See, every business that we do involves operating risk. It also involves financial risk. Operating risk, what if the business does not turn up? Or financial risk, what if the business is unable to repay? You must be familiar with these type of risk. So you must disclose all your stakeholders that these are the actions which are taken in line with the principles. These are the operations that we are doing and it involves certain risk. Apart from this, you must hold yourself accountable for effective adoption. What do you mean by accountability? It is being responsible for any action, taking that responsibility for ensuring that an action is done, and if it is not done, taking again that responsibility for correcting it or for its consequences. Okay. Now, I'll discuss with you the core elements so that you will be able to get the structure of this particular principle. The very first thing, formulating a policy. What kind of policy we are formulating? See, you have been given a principle. A principle states that business should be done in transparent manner. Right? Now, following this principle, you formulated a policy to be followed in your company, that whoever does this, or maybe if an employee is hired, he will be done this. So this is a policy, and you have disclosed this policy through maybe a newsletter or through maybe something. Say for example, if the principle states the business should be done in a transparent manner, that is, everything should be disclosed. So you manufactured a new soft drink, and keeping in mind this principle which states that you need to disclose everything, you disclosed every minute detail about that soft drink on as a label and pasted it on the soft drink. So you have formulated a policy of disclosing this ingredient on the soft drink. This is your internal policy that you have formulated inspired by these principles. Are you getting my point? Are you getting point? So what type of policy are you formulating? Following these principles, how are you going to work? That is what is important. So how are you going to work? You are first of all going to develop. You are going to develop such procedures, such policies that promote this principle. So maybe you can say that everyone, you can assign roles, you can divide roles, you can formulate a policy that you can develop SOPs, standard operating procedure, you can write them. You can say that every work has to be done in this way only, and these are the persons who are going to be responsible for it. To create more accountability, maybe you can say that anyone who does this work has to give his or her initials, so that it is authenticated and we get to know who has done this work, to create accountability. So this is some procedure that you have developed inside your company inspired by. So that is what we are saying here. That is what we are saying here. First of all, formulating a policy. Formulating policy. Then you can say explaining policy. Then you can say explaining policy. Then again you can say promoting policy. Promoting policy. Then you can say disclosing. Then you can say not doing anything in contravention of policy. Not doing anything in contravention of policy. So once again, I'll repeat it. If you understand one policy and the way it is, you will be able to understand all the policies very easily. Okay. So in the first principle, we are trying to say that every business should be done in a manner that is ethical, transparent, and accountable. Right? So this particular principle basically tells us that ethical conduct is the basis of everything. It is actually required, and Stakeholders should be aware of the operating risk. Then businesses should be accountable for effective adoption and everything like that. Now we have switched to the core elements. And what we are trying to establish here is that first of all, you should develop, or you should develop any procedure or any policy which actually promotes this principle. Okay. Secondly, you also have to ensure that everyone is aware of that policy. Everyone has understood why are we doing this and what is the purpose of doing this. Supposedly, I have been told to put my initials, but nobody understands why that initial is required. So they're doing anything like this. They're just scribbling. That is not solving the purpose. I need the initials to hold people accountable. So they also have to write their name. But they are not actually understanding why it is being done. So it was very important that you have formulated a policy. You make people understand this policy. Then you also promote this policy across the whole value chain. What do you mean by value chain? What do you mean by value chain? Value chain actually starts from procurement to delivery. From procurement to delivery. Right, you are taking something from your suppliers, then you are actually doing some process, maybe then you are indulging into marketing, sales activity, and then you're delivering the product. So this is whole is the value chain. This whole is value chain. Okay, so whatever your policy is should not be at just one level, but across the whole value chain. Okay. Then you must also disclose your policy. If you have this policy, it should be brought on paper, it should be circulated amongst all employees, and it should not be something that is hidden in my drawer. No, it should be something that is communicated transparently to everyone. Then you should not do anything which violates these principles. You should not do anything that violates these principles. And now take responsibility for statutory obligations. Then address conflicts, not engage in illegal practices, and timely payment of taxes. So these 4 points are in addition to policy, that is in general, which talks about the business in general. See, if you take responsibility for all your statutory obligations, you're acting in an accountable manner, right? If you're paying timely taxes, then you are again taking that responsibility, and you are working in a transparent manner. You're not manipulating taxes, you're not hiding taxes, you are actually timely contributing to the taxes. If you're not engaged in illegal activities or practices, you are portraying an ethical conduct, and you definitely have to address all the conflicts. Your conflicts can arise between employees, it can arise between the members, company and employees, company and members, company and maybe another company or anything like that. So whatever conflicts arise, you should have certain procedures to resolve these conflicts. If an employee has a problem, there should be a proper grievance mechanism, grievance redressal mechanism, wherein maybe employee can file a complaint and it goes to the board, and the board is able to resolve that particular problem. If it is with the members, they should also have certain procedures, certain policy wherein they can share their problems with you. Okay, so any business, if you have to be socially responsible and if you want to do so, then you must then you must follow these guidance principles. Okay, as I told you, Reliance is one of the pioneer in adopting these principles. You just don't have to adopt these principles, but you also have to report about it. Okay, I have adopted these principles. Inspired by these principles, I've formulated these policies and they have shown this result. So that is how the reporting should also be done. Okay, and that should be principle wise. First of all, I have to act, my business has to act in an ethical, transparent, accountable manner. Right? I hope you have understood this. if in exam you're being asked about this particular principle also, I hope you will be able to write it very well. Okay, now we'll move to the next part, that is principle number 2. Principle number 2. What is principle number 2? Safe and sustainable. Safe and sustainable. Safe and sustainable. Safe, we all know, hazardous products, safe. Supposedly, I go out and buy a pressure cooker and it actually blasts and it damages me, my surroundings, and everyone. So, this is something that is you might not have produced that good according to the adequate safety standards or something like that, or maybe you did not tell me how this particular product was how it has to be used, that is its intended procedure of use. I do not know that. So, safety we all understand. But what is sustainability? Sustainability, in its word, it has its meaning. The ability to sustain is sustainability. So, if I write this, it is nothing but sustainability is the ability to exist constantly. Exist sustained. Sustainability, to exist constantly. Say if I give you a glass of water, okay, and I tell you that you have to consume this water, you will be given only this much water and you have to consume this water for 10 days. That means in another 10 days you are not going to get a single more drop of water. You just have this glass of water. What will you do? Will you drink the whole glass of water the very first day? A man of ordinary prudence won't do that, right? What you will do is you will divide this glass of water maybe into 10 parts and you will think, okay, for each day I have this much of water. Maybe if you're very thirsty, you will consume a little more. That is it, right? So with slight variations, you will have a set organized in your mind. So that is what it is. Limited resource of water and you have to consume it for so long. If we talk about our nature, we have some limited resources. And I told you that you have to consume this water for 10 days, but we do not have a predefined life. Maybe I know my life expectancy will be somewhere around 70, maybe 75, if I'm lucky 80, no, if I'm unlucky 80 or whatever it is, right? But the next generation will come and it is going to continue, right? So if I have only 5 trees and I'm going to consume all those 5 trees, I'm going to deplete all these 5 trees, what is going to happen for the next generation? Do you get my point? See, a glass of water in 10 days is going to give you a clear vision, but this abundant natural resources, which is still limited, which is still scarce, and this infinite life is not going to give us any clear vision as to how much should we use, who should use, how much should we use. We are not going to get that. But we just get one fact for sure, that we have to limit our resources and we have to use our resources efficiently in such a way that these resources will sustain. It is not going to happen that today they exist, tomorrow they will not. No, we want continuously, we want them to exist constantly, right? That is what our motive is. So this particular point also says that whatever goods you're producing or whatever services you're rendering, it should be in such manner that first of all, it is sustainable and secondly, it's safe also. See, the principle emphasizes that business should focus on safety and they should minimize adverse effects, impacts on environment and societies at all stages of life cycle. See, start from the point when you're designing a product. Maybe you design a product which requires a lot of electricity consumption, and you already know that electricity or electric current is a limited or scarce resource. So maybe you can look for alternatives. We have solar energy, we're developing, right? We are growing day by day in these thoughts because we have a lot of science employed for this purpose only. So maybe you can look for alternative sources. Maybe you can, if there's a company which is actually consuming a lot of energy, draining everyone, and there's a company which comes up with an innovative idea which is not going to consume any electricity yet giving you the same services, which one are you going to prefer? Which one is the government going to prefer? So that is what I'm telling you, that if you adopt if you think for sustainable, if you think from sustainability point of view, then also you are going to get an edge over your competitors. Okay, so definitely you don't have to undermine your business. You have to create more value. You have to give more to your business, but at the same time, you also have to think about the environment. So for this, what can be done? When you're designing your product, when you are producing, or whatever you're doing, you have to make sure that you use low carbon process technology. That means you are not emitting out more industrial waste or polluting the environment or doing anything like that. Okay, then you also have to provide information about the impacts through appropriate and relevant tools. So this has been processed twice, thrice. You have used UV technology, you have used this, you have used that. You must communicate this to your stakeholders. You must disclose this to your stakeholders. If you have manufactured a product and it can be used this way, and you have used this particular technology which is energy efficient. If you, for example, if you just open a Classmate copy, if you have it right now, maybe you can see that. If you open a Classmate copy, you will find it ITC, right? You will find a lot of things written that every Classmate copy that you buy, 1 rupee is being donated to this particular point. What they're doing is they're doing social cause, and then they're disclosing that fact, right? They're doing social cause and then they're disclosing that fact. You also have to do the same thing. You employ some good technology, or employing some low carbon process technology, and then you disclose that fact through labels, through certifications, through a lot of things. You can do that, right? Even on product it can be clearly displayed. Then you also have to take responsibility for safe recycling. If you have emitted out a lot of industrial waste, you have to ensure how it is going to be disposed of. At times what happens, if I stay at my home, I have a lot of garbage at home. Every day it is being created, right? It is being accumulated rather. What I do is I put all the waste, all the garbage in a packet or whatever it is, in a disposable bin. I'm going to wrap it and I'm going to throw it out of my house. My part is done. I'm very happy and elated. Oh wow, my house is so clean. But what about the environment? What about the road? What about the surroundings wherein I have just dumped my garbage? Now, ideally, we all have the system that we have municipal corporations who have the responsibility to pick up the garbage, right? And they ensure that how it is going to be disposed of, how it is going to be settled, everything. So we pay taxes, we have those municipal corporations, and they actually do that work for us. But what about the industry? What about the business houses who are actually emitting out waste? What about that waste? Who is going to be responsible? Is it only the government? Is it only the citizen? Or it is also the businesses who must act responsibly? If they have just remitted out certain waste directly into the water somewhere, and they polluted the water, and that water has actually been refined, and we get that for drinking purposes, and someone gets ill, who is going to be responsible? So it is your responsibility that you have to safely recycle it. There is a company, IKEA, Swedish furniture company, I believe, that particular company actually made a lot of profit even by recycling their products. So you have a economic opportunity also lying here. You can recycle your products and you can make profit also. But how you dispose it, how you collect it, how you reuse it, how you recycle it, whatever you do, it is up to you, right? But you have to take that responsibility for doing so. Clear? So in our second principle, first of all, employ new technologies which are low carbon technologies. Second, provide stakeholders all the information about the issues and impacts. Thirdly, take responsibility for safe reasons, right? So these are the three elements which are related to sustainability and safe processes. Thirdly, we have VC, employees, value chain employees. So it is basically about all the employees, but not just your employees, but all the employees covered in the whole value chain. Okay, including those in the value chain, that is whoever is included in your value chain, you have to include everyone as your employee also, and you have to work for the well-being, for the betterment of all such employees. How are you going to do that is more important. This particular brief description actually tells us nothing. Okay, so it is only telling us that you have to maintain dignity, well-being, and not just of those members but also their family. So this is nothing written. This is important. Four elements. As an employee, what do you expect from your workplace? You must have had a lot of expectations when you're even imagining your dream job. You must have had some expectations. Okay, I'm going to wake up at whatever time I want to, then I'll go to work, and then I will work for some time. I'll have an AC cabin and something like that. So what do you dream about your dream job? You must have certain expectation. First of all, the very basic expectation: I should get timely wages. My wages should not be delayed. If my PF has been deducted, then it should be paid timely, right? If I am a laborer and I'm entitled, or maybe if I'm entitled to gratuity, then I should be paid gratuity. So whatever is there in laws, definitely I should get all those benefits. I should not be deprived of any such benefit which is given in law. Right? Now, apart from if I have any problem, there should be an appropriate person or appropriate procedure through which I can actually file a complaint. Wherever I'm working, that environment should be safe. I should not feel insecure. I should not feel terrified, right? Wherever I'm working, it should be hygienic. I should not be prone to diseases, right? There should be a proper washroom which should be hygienically clean and everything. So cleanliness is very important, right? Then I should also get some time for my family, right? Because this is not life. Even the principles say that this is not life. Work is work and life is all other things. Life is not work. So this particular principle also says that life is pleasure, family, enjoyment and everything. Work is work, right? So work and life should be balanced. So these are basic expectations that I as an employee has from my company. These principles also say the same. They also say that all your employees should get these. You must ensure that you're compliant with all the regulatory requirements. PF, gratuity, SIC, whatever is applied to you, you have to comply with it. You must ensure equal opportunities at the time of recruitment, during employment, and even at the time of termination. When you are hiring someone, it should not be based on reference and all that. Whoever is coming, the one who is more deserving should be hired. Now, even during the course of employment, the one who deserves promotion should be promoted, right? Who deserves promotion should be promoted. When somebody is leaving the job, if the conditions for termination should be same for everyone. It should not be like you can go within 3 days, there's no problem, but he has to serve a notice period of 4 months. In 4 months he will lose the job he has actually got, right? You have to serve you will not get 1 month salary, etc., etc. No discrimination, equal opportunity for all the employees, compliance with regulatory requirements, equal opportunities. Then you must promote and respect freedom of association, participation of workers, collective bargaining, and grievance redressal mechanisms. So these are 4 terms which have been written here. First of all, freedom of association. What does this mean? You have a freedom to form your own trade unions. Maybe you can associate yourself with anyone and you can form your own unions. Then participation of workers, wherein the workers participate in some decision making relating to them. Collective bargaining. What is collective bargaining? See, if I am negotiating my salary with my employer, what I'm doing is one-to-one bargaining, right? You say that I'm going to give you 9 lakhs. I said no, I want at least a package of 11 lakhs per annum maybe. So I'm doing bargaining, right? I'm negotiating my salary. When this is done collectively, we have thousands of laborers and they cannot speak for themselves. They do not have that ability to speak for themselves and they do not probably know what they deserve, right? So they cannot negotiate, so their leader is going to negotiate. So employer and when their group negotiate, that is known as collective bargaining. So this is not something that should be discouraged. You must respect this and you must promote this. If anyone has any problem, then that problem should be sorted out. You should not suppress the problem, rather you should give a mechanism through which this problem can be resolved. Okay, so all these points should be promoted and respected. You should not use child labor, coerced or forced labor. Businesses should not use child labor, coerced or forced labor. What do you mean by that? Have you seen KGF? KGF, I'm sure you must have seen KGF. If not, you don't need to see it, right? You just need to study. But if you've seen it, you must be knowing that when there was a point when digging of gold mines was required, then I don't remember the character's name. I never remember character's name in movies, but that particular person actually picked up a lot of people forcefully to do that labor work. So he is not indulging in ethical practices, right? He's not following this principle 3 because he has employed forced labor. He's forcefully appointing labor, right? Even if he's paying, then also it is a forced labor. Then put systems and processes to support work-life balance. I have already told you this. Ensure fair wages, timely wages, and fair living wages. You should give at least that much wages which is sufficient to cover the basic needs of the workers. Okay, a workplace which is safe, hygienic, and accessible. Okay, then continuous upgradation of skill. See, if the company is growing, the employees should also grow. If you want the employees to retain in your company, then you should also work for their growth. Because if they grow, if their skill set is enhanced, they're loyal towards your company will be benefited ultimately. And if their skill set keeps on upgrading, they will also feel that they are worth it, right? So it is very important, and this happens through a lot of training sessions, seminars, and everything. Maybe some companies also sponsor executive MBAs and such things, right? So it is fully sponsored. Why do they do that? Why do they do it? To enhance the skill set of their employees. Okay, because once they study more, they will be able to bring in more inputs to the company, right? So it is important. Then you should also create a workplace free from violence and harassment. We also have a Sexual Workplace Harassment Act for the same, after a lot of cases were being reported from the workplace of being harassed. then that particular act also came into force, and you must ensure that your company is free from any violence, is safe, it is a place where no harassment takes place in any form. Okay, so I hope this is clear. So far we have read about three principles only. So far we have read about three principles only, but I hope all these three principles are clear to you, right? So we have read about ethical, transparent and accountable, safe and sustainable, and value chain employees. These other principles we will discuss in. Thank you.